Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Now look, I know a lot of people are saying that XRP is in trouble. A lot of people are flipping bearish and believing that we are entering an actual bear market, and that the best days for this market cycle are behind us. And the truth is that nobody knows for sure what the future holds. But I do personally believe that it's more than reasonable to be optimistic for the future. I do believe it makes sense to expect that we are going to see that final parabolic blow off top for this crypto asset class for tons of reasons that I continue to articulate day after day after day. But look, there's also no shortage of chart analysts that think that the best is ahead this market cycle for XRP. And I'm going to share with you perspective from a ton of XRP chart analysts, including one who addresses this. And he says, look, I know, and I'm paraphrasing here, I know people are saying that XRP is in trouble. He just respectfully disagrees with that. And so that's one of the perspectives I'll be sharing with you in this latest Moon Lambo hot jam. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, as I record this video, it is 8:30 p.m. Central Time, Monday, October 27th, 2025. XRP is $2.64. It ran as high as $2.69 just a bit ago, and lots of analysts have cited that $2.70 a level as a key resistance. Here's Bitcoin, 114,250 bucks. 24-hour high of just over $116,000. And look, and I acknowledge, like, there are a number of analysts that I follow who are warning in the short term we could see a pullback for the market. I'm seeing some, so even some of the traditional finance guys that I follow warning, hey, we could see a pullback. I wouldn't say it's most, but it's enough that it's caught my attention. But even those analysts are not saying it's the end of the cycle. They're not warning that's it. Now we're going into a bear market for a number of years. That is, on the whole, not what I'm seeing out of the analysts that I follow. And take a look at this. Timing's interesting because honestly, like, I know the market's pulled back a little bit compared to its highs from earlier today, but it was moving very obviously. I mean, look at the price levels I just cited here. And so there's this post from Ryan Dietrich. He's a chief market strategist at Carson Group, and he shared this post. It's showing the S&P 500 average for the year, average price for the year, or gains for the year, going back to 1950. And he notes that historically stocks bottom on October 27th. Which is today. And so he wrote, stocks historically bottom on October 27th and rally into the end of the year. Q4's typically looking pretty damn good. And so again, it's just historic precedent. History does tend to rhyme with itself. Averages are here for a reason. Humans, once they're, get a large enough sample size, humans, once they're in a situation, put them in a similar situation, they're going to act about the same. Again, if you have a large enough sample size. And so that's why a lot of the time when you're looking about performance from the past, as long as you really are comparing an apple to an apple, you really do tend to get about the same output every single time. Now, if it's not sufficiently the same, yeah, it could be off a little bit. But that's why we do tend to see the same type of behaviors over and over and over again. It's another reason that I'm very optimistic for the future. In fact, did you realize that the Russell 2000 hit yet another new all-time high today? But it wasn't just that. You know what else hit new all-time highs? Not just the Russell 2000 small cap stocks, which, by the way, is relevant because we've never had a full-blown alt season without the Russell 2000 going first, because that just indicates that people are interested in investing further out the risk curve. It means that, yeah, because being risk on is one thing, meaning you're interested in, like, for instance, equities as well as crypto, but it's a question of to what degree. The more that gets juiced, the further you go at the risk curve, and then you get into not just the Russell 2000, but then there's interest in not just large caps and Bitcoin, but mid cap, small cap, so on and so forth. And that's how you end up ultimately getting alt season. But yes, the Russell 2000 hit a new all-time high. So did the S&P 500. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, new all-time high. The NASDAQ 100, also a new all-time high. And it all happened to be on this day, just funny enough, where he's like, yeah, October 27th, that's the bottom, and then stocks rally into the end of the year. That's what Ryan Dietrich showed here. Just kind of interesting. It happened to line up today, just like that. And the crypto market was up for most of the day to a notable degree. So it's what it is. Oh, and by the way, gold's down. Gold is down over 3% today. it's barely over $4,000 an ounce. I think that's where it closed for the day. And that's great because normally, I mean, historically, when gold starts falling, like that precedes alt season. That precedes the final parabolic rally for the crypto asset class. So if that's going to persist also, I mean, it looks good that it's happening. If that's going to persist, just one more thing, it's just more confluence. And then there was also this. I just wanted to point this out. So there are coins that have been popping off. I'm not familiar with this account, but I came across it in my feed and it said Zcash erasing 4 years of downtrend in a single candle. Folks, that is how quickly this can happen. 4 years of a downtrend, and then suddenly, over a span of just a few weeks, bam, rocket ship. So this is why I always say, you may get impatient and feel like, there's nothing happening here and other stuff's going, I need to go chase it. Okay, humans make that mistake, but like I always say, either you have exposure when an asset rockets or you don't. And a sure way to make sure you do is to, after you buy, not do anything. Now, I'm not telling you what to do, but I am telling you that's the way that I look at, and that's how I handle my investments in crypto, me personally. When I buy stuff, I then do nothing. I will just be more patient than everyone else, understanding that if you just let time pass, if you just look at the market cap for the entire crypto asset, slap that bitch on a chart, it is up and to the right. That is where it trends. For over 16 years, that's where it's trended. It's not going to end anytime soon, even though there, of course, will be bear markets. It'll keep trending that way. Look at how quick this happens. Isn't that amazing? I mean, look at this. Here's Live CoinWatch showing Zcash at $327. This is showing the last year of price action. Look at this. It's just here, it's just here, it's just here. Then over the last month, suddenly it's not. Then it goes. And that's how it was for XRP last year, wasn't it? When it finally started rocketing in November. I mean, look at this. Over the last 30 days, Zcash is up 524%. So there are individual coins that are popping off. I happen to hold Zcash. Not like a huge bag of it. I've held it for a long time, though. Honestly, so like I hold 42 different cryptocurrencies, but in terms of the value in United States dollars, the vast majority of it is concentrated into only a handful of coins. It's just that the only reason I have that, you don't need that many coins to be getting life-changing wealth in crypto. You really don't need that as many coins as I have. It's just I've been here almost 8 years now, and so as time has passed, I've just been like, I'll put a little bit in this, dab a little bit further, go a little further out the risk curve. But most of my investments, in terms of where the money went, it's large caps and some mid caps. That's where almost all of it went. Here's another example of a coin that's been popping over the last 30 days. Origin Trail up about 130%. And there are others. These are just two quick examples, and I do happen to own that one as well. But like this is historically what has happened before you have vaulting. There usually are a few that start going, and even recently Binance Coin was going too. Like we have had those handful of coins. Here's a post from Credible Crypto. He said, "When you were told we are in a bear market, but all the numbers are going up." Yeah, and then you just gonna have to look at the screen if you want to see the GIF that he shared right here. But yeah, he's very optimistic. No, the best is still yet ahead. He insists that what's most probable is Bitcoin's, it's going to peak at some point above $150,000 a cycle. He's made that clear. He also believes that XRP is going to peak somewhere between, likely anyway, somewhere between $20 to $30 a cycle. Nothing has changed despite the liquidation of it from a couple weeks ago. Here's a post from Crypto Wizard, a Bitcoin price chart. He says, "Bulls in control. The range has been reclaimed after the retest. Buyer stepped in and Bitcoin has exploded upside. A retest of $110,500 can occur whilst filling the CME gap, or it could get left behind. An all-time high is coming. It's not over, as I continue to call." And so there's another analyst saying, hey, we're still going to rip to the upside, but it's possible we do have a move to the downside first. And I've been noting day after day after day, there's a notable number of analysts I follow that do acknowledge in the short term, yes, you could have that pullback. They could be correct about that. It's not most of the analysts that I follow, but it's a lot of them. Enough that I've noticed that. So if it does happen, it's not the end of the world. Don't be caught off guard. They still believe that, yes, we're going to rampage higher. Here's a post from Cantonese Cat. He says, Bitcoin Weekly, losing the 20-week SMA, taking the lower Bollinger Band, then reclaiming 20-week SMA back as support. The last few times that this had happened, we got a next leg up. And so he's noting that has happened again. So you can look at when he says lower end of the Bollinger Band, that's his blue line where I'm moving my mouse right now. You can see that. So he's saying every time you come down to hit that, and then gone back up to this moving average, which is the yellow line, and then reclaim it as support, it's signaled the next leg up, at least the last few times that it's happened. So he seems to be optimistic, like we're actually kind of positioned pretty well for that to repeat. That's why he's highlighting that. Here's a post from chart analyst Dom. XRP says XRP is nearing the important level highlighted above. We do not want to see an underside rejection happen here. Reclaiming is the goal. So we are at a crucial moment where something's going to happen. Either it's going to reject here, in which case I will say if that happens, I won't be surprised if the entire asset class moves to the downside. I mean, the asset class, of course, moves in tandem. I just don't believe for a moment that XRP is going to just suffer for the remainder of this market cycle, and then we're going to have a euphoric blow-off top for everything else. It doesn't make a damn bit of sense. I mean, think about it. Even last cycle, when the SEC was attacking XRP, because that is what was happening, even then, XRP still moved in tandem with the market. And yeah, it didn't hit a new all-time high because of that attack, but it still moved in tandem. So to think that XRP is just going to break down and that's it, it's like, okay, I had fun, I'm done now, I'm XRP, and I don't want to go higher. No, that's not how it works. That doesn't make any damn sense. All up in this bitch. That's my humble opinion. I'm just saying. I think it's going to go way, way, way higher. XRP's been artificially suppressed. It's one of the most adopted and useful cryptocurrencies in the entire asset class. The fundamentals have never been stronger. It's got legal clarity. The United States is pro-crypto right now, and we haven't had an alt season to end the cycle yet. I don't think this will be the first time in history we don't have one. That concept is silly to me. Here's another post from Dom. It says an XRP US oil chart. And he says, right as the USD chart is approaching a significant level, the US oil chart is attempting to break back above the range we have watched all year. This is an extremely important level. Regaining it would be a bullish move. Getting rejected would not be ideal. And this has led what's happened on the XRP USD chart, which is one of the reasons I find it fascinating. So we'll see what happens here, but yes, it is a crucial moment. There are a couple analysts that I follow that do think that it's very possible XRP could move to the downside. And my attitude is, if it's going to be some sort of major breakdown, I'd be surprised if it happens in a vacuum. I really would. If there's something that causes, and then the whole asset class comes up, fine. Then XRP is going to fall with it. Outside of that, I doubt it's going to be anything dramatic. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. And he's seen the same thing that I've seen. There's a lot of people bitching on the internet and feeling sad and scared. And there's also a lot of analysts, in fact, that have flipped bearish. There's a lot of retail speculators that have flipped bearish, and they're now fearful. And so Crypto Insight UK wrote, I know a few people in the space are saying XRP isn't looking amazing right now. However, I can discuss a few things for you this morning. First off, XRP has literally no downside liquidity. Whilst this doesn't mean price can't fluctuate / be pushed around, it does mean that at some point price will be pushed higher into the deep areas of liquidity. These are the areas exchanges and market makers make money. Secondly, this liquidation event doesn't look bad on the weekly at all. I am seeing monthly discussions, and I am not saying the argument isn't valid, but I am saying it is just one time frame. Yes, higher time frames are more reliable, so have a look at the 3-month. Looks good too. I know people love a fractal on here. I shared this a few weeks ago. This is what a measured move would look like from the last time XRP Daily hit the oversold area on the RSI. So you can see RSI down here. And he had actually I shared this whenever it was that he shared this in recent times. And it is true. Like the last few times this has happened, he got into this oversold territory. It's been a good time for XRP afterwards. And so you can see when he plopped down this fractal, and if it followed like that, you'd have XRP at like $15. Wouldn't mind that in the least. Here's a post from Charting Guy. And I find this fascinating. So this is an XRP BTC chart. And he says, XRP BTC this cycle with Doge BTC last cycle fractal overlaid. Mind-boggling accuracy. And it actually is something. Like the length of time, the degree to which the fractal correlates, it is fascinating. So you can see in a history, if XRP keeps tracking what that means, visually you can see what it would look like. And I'll also show you this. He was showing the same comparison on December 2nd of 2024. That's actually happens to be the day that XRP hit its local high of $2.90 after rampaging for about a month. So he's comparing XRP BTC to Doge BTC then too. And you can see how it looks very samey. Now, I'm not going to attempt to sell you on this idea that XRP is going to play out the same as the Doge BTC chart. Maybe you find that compelling, maybe you don't. That's not the reason, the biggest reason I want to highlight this. Although, yes, I acknowledge it's fascinating when you have a fractal like that overlays. If it continues, maybe that persists, maybe it doesn't. That's kind of fascinating. But I really more so was interested in pointing out that you absolutely can have a big burst, then consolidate for a really long ass time, and then have another freaking gigantic burst. That is within historical norms for many, many, many assets in crypto. And when people went through that with those assets, they probably at times felt defeated. They felt like impatient and it wasn't going to go. But then it did. And like I keep saying, either you have exposure when that happens or you do not. So take it for what it's worth. Here's a post from the great Matsby. He says, XRP had one of the best weekly candle closes tonight. Back above the weekly Ichimoku baseline. All-time highs are coming. So there's another analyst that is very optimistic. Yes, indeed, the best is yet ahead. Here's a post from Ether National. He says, XRP, you're not ready for the next wave. Stuck between its 2017 and 2021 peaks, XRP is maturing in a years-long reaccumulation phase. This silence is a precursor to a major move. Once the structure is complete, a new parabolic wave will take hold. And so again, there are a couple analysts, and I highlighted it in a video yesterday. There are a couple analysts that are leaning bearish in the short term for XRP. And maybe it's a minority opinion. Sometimes minority opinions are correct, but I just got to reiterate, they're usually not. And the vast majority of analysts that I follow think that the best is yet ahead for XRP. So we'll see. We're going to find out together. Either way, even if we entered a bear market, like I always say, I'd still just keep holding XRP. I would change nothing. I'd buy more in the, I'd buy the, the depths of the bear market, and then we'd rampage higher, and then I'd make even more money when we're back in extreme greed. I'd start selling. So either way, I'm going to be fine because I'm choosing to do that. You can just choose to be rich. Just make the right decisions, and you can literally just choose to be rich. Here's a post from Chart Nerd. He says, XRP so far so good. Must clear $2.70 to really kickstart a euphoric run back towards descending resistance, then all-time highs. And so that's another analyst that's optimistic. Yeah, it's going to happen. We're going to rampage higher. And he's calling for a peak this cycle at $27. Here's a post from Chart Analyst CW. It says, the real upside of phase 4 on the XRP rally comes after the all-time high breakout. The uptrend is just starting. And you can see he's targeting up here, $21.50. He says, again, the uptrend is just starting. Well, if that ends up coming to pass, I will not be the least bit surprised. So yeah, I understand what people are saying. I understand people are impatient. Some people are fearful. I get it. I'm not fearful in the least. This asset class, imagine another decade from now. What do you think is going to happen over the next 10 years? The chart will continue to go up and to the right. I'm going to be here for that. Are you? Because I'm just choosing to be there. So whether we enter a bear market now or next year or any point after that, I'm just going to be here for all of it. Because I know that it's just going to keep getting better and better and better, and XRP is here to stay. It's an early winner in the crypto space. So why would I be fearful regardless of what happens in the short term? It does not matter. It does not emotionally impact me. Everything's fine. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.